Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeannie dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
Everyone, I'm Kirsten, and that's Jeannie with Six Figure Business Coaching and the co-creators of the Marketing VA Advantage. And we're so excited to have a fabulous guest today.
I'm so excited to introduce you to Stacy Ennis. She is an amazing best-selling author, coach, and speaker, and she's on a mission to help leaders clarify their ideas and harness their unique story to make an impact. She's also been founder of the Nonfiction Book School, which is an accelerated author program. Her background also includes ghostwriting for a Nobel Prize winner in medicine and leading as executive editor of Sam's Club Healthy Living Made Simple magazine, a publication that reaches about 11 million readers. She also has a best-selling book co-written with Ron Price called Growing Influence, a story of how to lead with character, expertise, and impact. She's also the host of Beyond Better, a podcast that explores how to create a business and life you love. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. You have so much that you've already accomplished. It's amazing.
You two are so much fun, and I know this is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, you just have so much experience and you bring so many different points to the conversation. But one of the things I want to focus on, and I know you're going to focus on it, is it's not about writing a book. It's about writing a good book. Yeah.
Yes. It's such an important point, and I think that gets lost a lot when people get into this whole world of writing a book. They focus on things that feel controllable, what they're going to title it, what the cover will look like. They forget that actually the book needs to be good, that if the book isn't good, it's not going to do the work that they want it to do in the world. It's a really important piece that every aspiring author should think about, like, my book should be good.
So you work with a lot of different types of business owners, some local, some that want to have location independence, and you help them to really spend and invest the time in writing a great book. What does that journey look like?
Oh, I love the journey of authorhood. I think it's such a beautiful and profound journey. And to your point, a lot of the people that I work with, they share two things. One, they want to put good into the world, or they are already putting good into the world in some way. So they have a mission or message that is big, a mission of impact. So that's one piece. The other piece that they share is a desire for freedom of choice. And that often includes freedom of location. They just want to have more freedom and flexibility over their daily lives. One of the things that I love about the journey of writing a book is that I really coach people into aligning a book with their big vision. So a lot of times people come to me and they have a lot of ideas. They could write 20 books, or sometimes they don't even know how to articulate their ideas. They're like, I want to write a book. I know I have one in me. I have no clue what I'm going to write about. So we actually start with their vision first, and we get really clear about what that vision for impact is. For listeners of this podcast, that might be partially in alignment or actually largely in alignment with their business vision, their business strategy. And then we're asking a really important question. What is the right book for right now? And how does that book fit into this trajectory? So if I were to draw a line from point A, where I am today, to point B, the big place that I want to go, does this book fit into that continuum? And so we're coaching. The coaching that I guide them through, the process that I guide them through, is really defining what that book is, and then helping them get really clear on the concept for that book, the reader, which typically is going to also align with their customer or client, and then crafting a really well-structured outline, and then writing a fantastic book.
Love that. It's for someone like me, it just seems so overwhelming. So it has to be so amazing to work with someone who's written books and help so many other people do that. What do you feel is the biggest fear people have to overcome to even book that call with you and start the conversation about writing a book?
Anytime I get on an initial call with somebody, I try to remember to validate that fact that they even emailed me to begin with, because I know that initial email can be a big deal. That's an action step that they're taking toward this goal that they have. And I would say that along with that, the fears that keep people out of not from accomplishing this goal they want to accomplish One is the fear. I honestly think it's the fear of success, getting through this. And now I am actually taking an active role in achieving my big vision. I am being an active participant in this vision for my life that I want to create. And then the other one's just a really practical. How do I write a book? What is this process? Because what most people will find is that writing is one skill, writing a book is another skill. They're two completely different skills. It's just not how it works. And there is a skill development piece to that. Actually, I think it's a really hopeful message.
And I would think that you'd want to put a lot of stories in there, like from their own journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, Jeannie. Storytelling is one of the most underutilized things in all nonfiction writing. And people think they're fluffy, but actually research shows us that people remember stories many X than they do just pure data.
Yeah.
Well, people forget what you tell them, but basically they remember how you make them feel. And stories are a way to make people feel, right? Information doesn't really impact how we feel about things, but when you hear a story and you can put yourself in that story, you can imagine it being you, then you have a lot of feelings there. And I think that's what really makes stories so powerful in any type of content.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the last book you read that you loved. Probably there was an element of story in it and some that made you feel something, whether it was inspiration or heartache or just surprise, like whatever that was that made you feel. Probably there was a good story that got you to that point.
Definitely. So as a business owner, obviously writing this book to be in alignment with the bigger vision of the company, what are some of the things that you feel like business owners really get out of this process of writing the book and developing the skills? What do you feel like how does it change them?
I'm always humbled by the vulnerability that I'm allowed to be part of in this process. On the other side of that, to answer your question, people just become so anchored and clear. And I think they're surprised at how much they know. Like they get into the process and they're like, oh, I have all this knowledge and I have all this expertise. And then on the other side of that, they're forced just by the process of writing to get it into a format that people can absorb in a way that they can understand. And so they are really compelled to translate the things that are floating around and complicated in their brain into a really digestible thing for other people. And so then they can show up with a lot more confidence in different situations. So there is just so much to it. And it's also hard. And so when people get to that other side, I think it truly is one of the most beautiful and powerful experiences that a person can have.
Amazing. And I think that sometimes we just don't know when we challenge ourselves, like you said, to learn this new skill and to put ourselves out there. And because it is kind of scary to think, I've written a book. Well, who are you to write a book? I think that's the voice that we often have in our own heads. And so to realize how much we do grow and develop through that journey is just amazing. And that was one of the things that I really just connected with you on when we first spoke, is just like how it transforms people's lives. And as business owners, I feel like we're always growing and developing, and we're often putting ourselves outside of our comfort zone, but the reward is just overwhelming with this process with you.
Yeah, that piece of it, I think, isn't it true that everything worthwhile is a little bit hard and a little bit scary? And I know that your audience can really resonate with this as business owners, because there's so much about having a business that is incredibly difficult, incredibly challenging, and at the end of it, you have something that is yours, that you designed, that you created, that you built. And I think it's reflective, and that same experience is reflected in a book as well.
So, Stacy, you've mentioned that having a book can be a fertile ground. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
I love to think about a book as this like soil from which other things can grow. So what kind of things? Obviously, marketing and content, it is this really rich soil you can grow so many things out of. And it's such a tool that you can use in your ongoing marketing for years and years to come. And as you write a book, you often will come to frameworks or new ideas or new ways of expressing things that you can then use to grow other things like a coaching program, like a product line, like a keynote offer, like a consulting offer, like brand deals. There's so many different things that this book, because in its richness of the journey to get there, and as you know, a book really is kind of a ticket to a lot of places that people want to go. A book is part of that ticket to reach that place. And so there is just the fact of being the person that wrote the book on it. But then there's also, as we've discussed, all these other things in the journey to get there that will create this thing from which you can grow so many other things.
And if you think about it, being invited to conferences or speaking engagements, that's a fantastic way to really scale your business. So you're leveraging that book, something that you wrote, you spent 6 months of your life pouring your heart and soul into, but now you're leveraging it and it's working for you for years to come and helping you just really grow your business in a way that you couldn't otherwise.
Yeah, it's so true. I think we really underestimate the power of speaking opportunities and just being out in the world, sharing our knowledge, sharing our message.
I feel like that's the way we feel about long form content, your YouTube videos, because people really connect with you when they see you. And especially when it's, you're going more in depth in your topic and you're sharing stories. And so I do feel like it does build that connection. But that leads me to something, we're actually working with a law firm and they have a book and they've had a book for over a decade. And so when we were talking with her about her content strategy, her book just has all of these different things in it that we're going to be able to pull as part of her video content strategy. So that's another way to leverage that book that you created and create more and more content out of it. So I think she was very excited about that.
Yeah, I love that example. It's such a practical example of how you can really leverage a book for so many other things. To the earlier point that you had asked Jeannie about it being that fertile soil, that's an example of you can go to that book and ask, what can we pull from this? How can we integrate this into our bigger strategy? And to your point, Kirsten, on the long form content, what better long form content than a book? I mean, it really is somebody deeply engaging with you for, 6-7 hours or so. I think it's a wonderful way to really bring people into your world and help them see what you want them to see through the book.
Give someone advice or one tip about whether or not they should write a book for their business. What would that tip be?
My tip would be write a book for your business. I will say, and I've seen this, I've been in business for 14 years now. I've been doing this for 14 years. And it is really that one thing that people can do that is such a massive differentiator that really can be a catalyst to all of the other things that they're building in their business. What I would encourage you to do before you begin that journey is to really think deeply about the vision behind this. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years? And not just with your business, but also with your life. Those two things are so interconnected. And this is how I've run my business. This is how I coach my clients that are writing books. I always start with vision first and work backwards. But you need to be thinking about that question of, what is the right book for right now to get me to where I want to go? And I would also say, if that feels fuzzy with the vision, I wouldn't let that hold you back. I would just be mindful that you might need some coaching and support to help understand that piece of your larger strategy.
Important to reach out to a professional, because as somebody who's never written a book, you don't know how to get it out there. You don't know what's the best way to reach those people. What's the best way to make it impactful? And sometimes you're too close to it when it's yours that you can't see. Is this interesting? Is this entertaining? Is this something that's going to keep people from start to finish?
Yeah, I love that point. And to your point as well, the coaching piece, but even if you're just tiptoeing in, you can go and start listening to author interviews. My podcast, Beyond Better, I have authors on all the time, and I don't ask them the typical questions about all the talking points on their book. I usually really gear it toward, like, what were your challenges in the writing process? How did you launch this book effectively? How did you integrate it into your marketing? We talk about a lot of those pieces. So just like jumping in and starting to learn and like feel like you're kind of immersing yourself a little bit. And if you're not ready for that big step, I think that's a great first thing that you can do before you even engage in the coaching. But I also deeply believe in coaching for all the things. It's been a game changer for me in nearly everything I've done.
Yeah, no, we wholeheartedly agree. Well, this has been amazing, Stacy. You are a wealth of information and passion, and I love it. So your podcast is Beyond Better. So we hope that you will all go and listen. And Stacy also has a free gift for us. It's how to create an influential author platform. And you can find that at stacyennis.com/platform guide. And it's Stacy, STACYENNIS.com/platform guide. And we'll put that in the show notes below. But we can't thank you enough, Stacy, for spending some time with us today and educating our audience and just making us all excited about writing a book.
Thank you both so much. This is so fun. And I'd love to invite anybody that's listening or watching this discussion. They're welcome to reach out to me at hello@stacyennis.com with questions.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously you can see she's delightful and warm. You will be in good hands if you reach out to her if you're ready to write that book. So we hope today's been inspiring for all of you. Again, Stacy, thank you for being here. And we will all see you all on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.